Part 1 exposed the trap. Part 2 showed how revolving credit and technology made it frictionless. Now Part 3 is the deep one, the legal switch that turned high interest into a national default. Because this didn't happen by accident. This happened because one rule quietly defeated 50 different states. For most of American history, usury laws mattered. Different states set different interest rate ceilings. The logic was simple. If money gets too expensive, the poor get crushed and the economy destabilizes. So states capped rates to limit extraction. And for a while, that actually constrained the credit card business. Then the industry found the loophole. Don't fight the cap in every state. Find one state with a higher cap and export it to everyone. Here's the core idea. Under federal banking rules, a bank's interest rate is tied to where the bank is located, its home state, not the borrower's state. Read that again? Not the borrower's state. So if a bank is based in a permissive state, it can lend across state lines and charge the rate that state allows, even if the customer lives in a state that tried to protect them. This is how local protections get neutralized by geography. In 1978, the Supreme Court effectively locks in this principle. A national bank can charge out-of-state customers the interest rate allowed by the bank's home state. That single interpretation does something brutal. It turns state rate caps into decorative wallpaper, because now banks don't have to compete by offering better credit. They can compete by choosing better laws. And once that door opens, the next step is predictable: a race. This is where the story gets dark. States realize banks bring jobs, offices, and tax revenue. Banks realize states can be pressured, so the negotiation becomes ugly. Change your laws, or we move. And states respond. Some loosen caps, some remove caps. Some build entire financial center strategies around attracting credit card issuers. So credit doesn't become free market. It becomes a market for regulation. And consumers are not the customers. They're the product being sold inside that regulatory deal. Then, the power expands. Federal law in the early 1980s extends similar advantages beyond just national banks, so more lenders can operate with the same basic play. Home state rules, nationwide reach. That's how high APR becomes scalable. Not because every state voted for it. Because federal preemption makes the strict states irrelevant. And once you can export rates, the next move is to export fees. By the 1990s, regulators and courts treat more charges like interest in practice, meaning the same preemption logic can apply to penalty pricing. Late fees, penalty pricing. The fine print costs that hit hardest when you're already struggling. So the engine doesn't just sell time through APR, it also monetizes mistakes. Miss a date, pay a fee, slip once, get repriced. And the system calls it risk management. I call it a second profit layer. After the financial crisis, the US passes the Card Act. It limits some of the worst behaviors, surprise changes, certain fee tricks, clearer disclosures. But notice what it does not do. It does not impose a national APR cap. It doesn't kill the exportation system. It doesn't end the profit model. So the industry adapts. When you restrict one revenue lever, they rebalance somewhere else, because the core engine, high-priced revolving debt, remains intact. Now we're back to January 2026. Trump floats a 10% credit card rate cap. Whether you like him or hate him is irrelevant. Mechanically, a cap threatens what this legal architecture protects: the right to price revolving debt high, nationwide. So, banks won't fight this like a normal policy debate. They'll fight it like a threat to a platform. And if you understand the platform, you can predict the consequences. In Part 4, we'll break down what a 10% cap would actually do. Who wins, who loses, what banks change first, and how the system tries to protect profits when the rate lever gets cut. Stay tuned for Part 4. Want to uncover more hidden financial truths? Subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for Part 4.